photon torpedo down that exhaust port. He's the hero of Star Wars, period.
Starts out as a moisture farmer,
right,
and ends up in charge
a galactic hero.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. All in the span of what, hour 45 minutes? Yeah, that's pretty good.
It's like Robert Jordan. If you've ever read any of the Wheel of Time series, I was really astounded with the series that I'm still reading it. Your core group of characters start out in a little podunk village, way up in the mountains. They're just now old enough to even consider going out and getting married. And by the end, you have this whole core group are now major figures in charge of entire armies and kingdoms, and all of this by the time it gets to the far end of the story. And one is destined to kill the most evil thing in the story. So,
and that's part of the journey that we'll get into as well. Yeah. So the village that he's talking about, that these three characters start out in, that's the ordinary world. That's well, we'll get into it. So a bit down the line, but yeah, you're spot on. You're spot on. So. Sacrifice is the next key element of being a hero. You don't have to sacrifice anything, but you absolutely must be willing to sacrifice something that is valuable to you in order to accomplish your goals. Whether that sacrifice actually follows through and becomes a truth, that's for you guys, the storytellers, to figure out, is that appropriate for my story? Is this a good thing for a sacrifice to happen? This includes self-sacrifice. So the death of the hero can be a sanctified act. That can be something of, if that exhaust port at the end of the trench and Luke Skywalker at the last second realizes, I can't pull up, I'm going to slam into the end of the trench, but I'm going to do it anyway. That's self-sacrifice. That would make him a hero.
What is meant by sanctified act?
It means that
I guess I should know that. I'm sorry.
The hero's death can be a good thing.
Sacrifice for the greater good.
Yeah, sacrifice for the greater good. End of the Star Trek, the first Star Trek movie.
When Spock died.
The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or something like that, or the one, yeah. And at that point, Spock is the hero, and his death, his self-sacrifice, became a good thing. For the character arcs, the story arcs, the movie itself. So therefore it was a sanctified act.
Okay. So like justifiable.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So now that we're talking about death and character death, the hero must face a very, very real threat of death. And it can be symbolic or literal. And we'll get into that. Actually, that's part of the journey itself. That's part of the other handout. In the case of romance, people usually don't die in romance books just because that's a bummer. And
depends on who they are.
Yeah, and the romance genre, you don't want many bummers. Yeah, you want the boy to lose the girl, then get the girl, then lose the girl, and then finally get the girl, and have sex with the girl, then into the book, right? So.
What about Romeo and Juliet? Is that considered a romance?
No, it's tragedy.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, even if they die, it's like romantic death.
Yeah. So in this case, death could symbolize, in the case of romance, death could symbolize lost love. It is such a tragic loss to me that this woman no longer loves me, that I just can't go on. And therefore I'm going to do stupid stuff that may attract her attention yet again. She's like, oh, I didn't realize you were so brave, and gets the girl back. That's kind of how romances go. So high-stakes gambling, some major loss can also be a symbolic of death as well. There's no reason for somebody to die, but there needs to be a major loss of some kind involved in the heroes, or at least their willingness to have that major loss. Heroes show us how to properly deal with death and loss, how they humanly react to it, how they overcome it, how they come out stronger in the end. And the most effective heroes are the ones that have some kind of major sacrifice. In the case of Star Wars, Luke Skywalker sacrifices a lot of friends because he's made friends with the B-Wing and the X-Wing fighters and all that. Most of them didn't make it back home. So there's his sacrifice. They didn't really show it too much in the movie, but if you read some of the books, they bring that out a little bit more in depth of how he befriended his fellow fighter pilots during their preparations and all that. And he felt the loss of each guy that was behind him, that was being, or ahead of him even, that was being blown up as they were charging the trench to blow up the Death Star. So, the other archetypes, how do they interact with the hero? Other archetypes, how do they become heroic? Every once in a while, these other archetypes that I've got listed on the previous page can be the hero for a scene or for an action. That's okay. You don't have to say, oh, well, in this scene, somebody's sacrificing something, so it has to be the hero. That's not always true. So think about their escape from the Death Star when they rescue Princess Leia. They're running to the Millennium Falcon. They're getting the hell out of there, and Darth Vader shows up. Darth Vader's going to stop them, period. While Obi-Wan Kenobi steps out, interrupts Darth Vader, and they have their lightsaber fight, and Obi-Wan Kenobi stands there, holds his sword up, and gets cut in half, and he's done. That is the ultimate self-sacrifice. He sacrificed himself to slow down Darth Vader so that everybody else could get on the Millennium Falcon and get the hell out. That right there is a heroic action. What role, out of the list on the previous page, what role do you think Obi-Wan Kenobi fills in the
Mentor.
Mentor, absolutely. So in this case, the mentor stepped up to the plate and said, I'm going to be the hero, and he was for that particular scene.
So also, being the mentor, that gives our hero more sacrifice by the loss of his mentor.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But so like being the hero is like a crown they pass back and forth or something? I mean,
It's
like,
not passed too often, but it can be. So don't picture the crown of heroism as bolted to their head.
Okay.
There's a story in that.
I'm sure there is. I'm sure there
The
is.
crown of heroes.
So, yeah, it's, hey, let me borrow that for a sec. I need to do something. That kind of thing. So,
Okay.
Heroic flaws. I mentioned earlier that heroes need flaws, so that they're more three-dimensional, they're more human-like, unless you're doing some sort of space alien hero kind of thing, but there still needs to be some humanity in those characters so your readers can identify with them, because reader identification is key. In this case, pick flaws in your characters that allows them the most character growth. That means overcoming the flaws, maybe making the flaws a little weaker as they improve themselves, but they're still there in the background. That way they're still a flawed character as they move forward. Think of Forrest Gump. His main flaw at the start of the movie were his legs. He needed the leg braces. He couldn't walk right. And as the movie progressed, he outgrew the braces, and he was actually running from the bullies throwing the rocks at him, and the braces fell off magically and all that. And then he became this great runner throughout the course of the movie. That's a character flaw that was overcome. And a lot of kids who are in leg braces saw that movie and gave them hope. So they identified with Forrest Gump in this case. So that's what character flaws are there for. It's not to make them suck. It's to give them opportunity to grow. And then we have a variety of heroes here. So we have and a hero can go through multiple types and multiple varieties throughout the course of the show or the book. So the first one is willing. Oh, there's a problem, I'm going to go solve it. Indiana Jones. He's a willing hero. The Nazis are about to recover this idol, so I'm going to go get it first. He's willing to put his life on the line or his career on the line to go prevent the Nazis from getting something. The next type is unwilling. An unwilling hero is just kind of led along by the nose. They're drugged through the story. They don't want to be there. They don't want to be the hero. They're doing just what it takes to get by. Those are not the greatest heroes. They're perfectly acceptable, but at some point during the course of your book, the unwilling hero has to become the willing hero.
Like the guy in District 9.
Yes, yes. So for those of you who haven't seen that movie, and I use movies for examples because we've all seen, even as readers, we've seen more movies than we've read books, so it's a more common ground.
Because
Yeah, he's a government official who's kicking these aliens out of their suburb, basically out of their slums, and they're going to move them to some more or less a concentration camp style thing. He's just a paperwork guy. He's there to say, okay, yeah, we picked up this alien. Yeah, we picked up this alien. And as the story progresses, he's pushed more and more and more into the
you kind of like hate him almost to the very end. You know?
Yeah, and then at the end he becomes an alien. If I remember the movie.
Well, he becomes an alien, but that's not until afterwards. But I mean, he basically up to almost to the very end, he betrays the guys that were the alien guy that was trusting him. He does all these dirty tricks. He really is just all about himself until the very last minute as he's sort of transforming into this alien. He finally steps up and makes it possible for the alien and his son to get away.
Right. It's been a while since I've seen it, but yeah. So at some point he became a decision maker. He became the guy that's going, I'm going to do this. Another variety of heroes, what's called group-oriented. That means they're accepted into the society of their ordinary world, and I'll go into what the ordinary world is here in a bit. But and you can have an unwilling group-oriented hero or willing group-oriented hero, that kind of thing. So these are not mutually exclusive. They can be mixed and matched as you please. Obviously, willing and unwilling kind of are diametrically opposed, so it's hard to do that, but at some point, that unwilling has to become a willing. Another type of hero is the loner. He's an outcast from the ordinary world, but he's tolerated. Damn near every Clint Eastwood character is the loner. He's the cranky old neighbor, get off my lawn, kids, or I'm going to shoot you with a shotgun, that kind of thing. Yeah,
Gran Torino.
Yeah, Gran Torino, yeah. So, of course, the shotgun's not loaded, it's just an empty threat, but nobody knows that. But everybody says, he's just the cranky old man with the empty shotgun, leave him be. So he's accepted as the neighbor, but he's alone within the society. The next variety of hero is the anti-hero. This does not mean villain. This does not mean bad guy. This just means somebody who is living outside the accepted norms of the ordinary world, and he's also hunted by the authorities of the ordinary world. This is primarily used in westerns, where the lone gunman wanders into town, wanders into the saloon and say, well, where'd you come from? A little bit of everywhere.
The hero of Neuromancer.
Damn near every cyberpunk book has one of these, where the hero is outside the law. He's hunted by the law, but he's doing something good for society.
Firefly.
Firefly. The entire crew of Firefly. Yeah.
Robin Hood.
He's another great anti-hero. So when you hear the word anti-hero, it's not bad guy. It's good guy living outside the law.
Hephaestus. I love Hephaestus.
Hephaestus. Yeah, the
Yes.
Vulcan, same dude.
Yeah.
Vulcan was his Latin name.
Oh, okay. The God of the Forge, it was cool.
Right.
Yeah.
The next type is tragic. These guys usually don't survive the end of the story intact. Most of them are not even alive. I think pretty much every Shakespeare character out there, the big one being Hamlet. He's the hero of the story. He dies at the end. I'm sorry for giving away the ending for people.
Reading that.
Damn it! So yeah, Hamlet is probably the ultimate tragic hero. He did get the uncle off the throne He got the murderous wife, his own mother, off the